from the Environmental Protection Agency, and before 5 at 4 o'clock we have folks from the Central Bank of Liberia. So stay with us, don't go away. We we will endeavor to talk to Mansurado County Senator April Daros Dillon, the rehab center there in the rehab community of Painesville has graduated all girls from that center. They've rehabilitated girls who were into drug intake or usage. We will also talk to Trokon. I'm forgetting his last name, but he's the one, the administrator there at the rehab center. So we will get over to them very shortly. We will tell you who our guest is at 5 on the conversation. So my name is Trokon. A couple of hours ago, or almost a day now, Mr. Henry Costa had posted that he uh, had reunited with His Excellency President Joseph Newman Boakai. That reunion, they were pictorials on social media, and a readout from Mr. Costa. A readout from Mr. Henry Costa suggesting that he has met with President Joseph Boakai, and they held a conversation. They held conversation, and reconciliation took place. Henry Costa had been that figure in Liberia, who's been very vocal, and sometimes it is difficult to determine his mood. In 2017, he became a very critical voice, a critic of Joseph Boakai. At the 11th hour, he would join Mr. Boakai to campaign for him. Boakai did not win. During the early hours of the CDC regime, or the early year of the CDC regime in 2018, Mr. Costa will cross over to support Mr. George Weah. Not too long, he fell out with the regime and began to criticize Mr. Weah and the CDC. He organized with other colleagues the famous June 7th Save the State protest, which went down in history as one of the biggest protests in the country's history. Mr. Costa will move on to support Mr. Joseph Boakai again in 2023. In a dramatic turn, Mr. Henry Costa will leave the rescue mission as it was coined. There are still debates that he coined the rescue mission. Others are saying it was an idea from some other people and he made it popular. That is the debate for them in the politics of the day. But Mr. Costa will go on to criticize Mr. Joseph Boakai and the Unity Party after Jeremiah Kwankun, the current vice president, then senator of Nema County, was named by President Boakai, then candidate Joseph Boakai, as his running mate. Henry Costa was a very heavy critic of the government. Lots of things Henry Costa said, lots and lots of things that created huge and heavy division. It went on. Mr. Boakai won the elections. Today he's president. After a year, couple of days, Henry Costa is on his knees. He's back begging. Reconciliation is held, and Facebook has gone wild. I am making mention of these things to come to a particular point. especially with, I don't have a lot of problem with Mr. Henry Costa and President Joseph Boakai having reconciliatory meeting and whoever initiated the reconciliation meeting. There are people who are not satisfied that Costa has gone back to join the ranks of Mr. Boakai and Boakai has accepted him, especially people who aligned with Mr. Boakai, who Henry Costa had accused and said all kinds of nasty things about. And the politics became too toxic to the level that a lot of us thought that a man like Henry Costa would not or would never come around. But today it is what it is. And it is a good thing to reconcile. But I'm driving to a particular point. When these political people are doing the politics, sometimes in the end result and how people recalibrate, you will think that people are doing it for their personal interest. What we do not know is in depth how Mr. Henry Costa and Joseph Boakai fell out. And Costa became a very bitter critic of Mr. Joseph Boakai that he disclosed some very personal information that people thought Henry Costa would not have disclosed. Though some of the predictions he made, some of the things he said about Mr. Boakai's health have not come to pass. Things about surgery, about how the president who have gone on some surgery and XYZ, if that was not done, something would have happened. Those things are yet to come to pass. But the toxic politics and how Henry Costa and Joseph Boakai felt out divided the population in some ways. And the thing about it is that today when you see how people are reacting to Henry Costa's reunion with President Boakai, you will know that people who he supported yesterday are his biggest critics today. When I say people he supported, I'm talking specifically about the CDC and Mr. George Weah's campaign that he supported in 2023. Today, they are his biggest critics because he has gone back to where he was prior to him leaving to the 2023 election. And the Unity Party people who criticized him yesterday are welcoming him. Some people who rescinded their decision to call him hero after they called him hero welcoming him back. I'm driving to a point because when these things are happening in the ranks of these political parties, we, the ordinary people, can put our necks, our life, our everything on the block, on the line, because of these single individuals. Henry Costa had gone bitter with Mr. Boakai. All of his supporters had gone bitter. Nasty things were said. The relationship between Mr. Boakai and Henry Costa had broken. Folks from the Unity Party, the majority of folks from the Unity Party have said the nastiest things about Mr. Henry Costa. And Costa's opponent yesterday, who did not believe in him, who never supported him, who thought that things he said were lies, he was a schemer and XYZ, welcome him into the realms and making their own because they needed some level of support to navigate their way through. So the way the politics run, it makes some of us to feel that people sometimes take decision for their personal political interest. Now, Mr. Henry Costa have told the whole world that per the conversation and the leaked recordings and everything he put out to the public in 2023, preventing a Joseph Yuma Boakai's presidency. In less than 2 years, the same man who did not at the 11th hour believe in Boakai's presidency has come back to reconcile, not just reconciling, but going into bed with the regime and the leader, he said, all of the nastiest things about. The same people who criticized him yesterday for saying the things he said about Mr. Boakai are welcoming him back into the realms. Thousands of Liberians who supported Mr. Henry Costa were further his trademark, were insulted, who wrote all kinds of things about Mr. Boakai, were out when Mr. Henry Costa and the president was in that room last evening having their conversation in an affair that Mr. Henry Costa might come back tomorrow to disclose some of the things that happened there because he's not there for that. He has done it before. He has leaked our critical conversation he held with former President George Weah. He did the same with opposition leader Joseph Boakai. Now he's back in the room. We might, I'm not saying, I'm not emphatic, but we might. If things goes wrong, yes, some of the things that happen in that room. Thousands of the people that supported him yesterday will criticize Boakai, will hate the Boakai, will insult him. We're out when Mr. Henry Costa and Joseph Boakai were having conversation. Do we know what they talk about there? Do we know what the outcome of the meeting was, except the one we see on the surface about reconciliation? Do we know what the promises were made, what the proposals were made? This is the tragedy about our politics. So it means Trokon can get mad today, say anything about anybody. When the person is in a privileged position tomorrow, we go back, reconcile, and say, don't get me wrong, Henry Costa was one of the presidents who fought to make what the mission was. Henry Costa brought the mission to the very last end, but deviated from what he made, from what he supported, for what he stood for. And a lot of us would think that Mr. Costa was supporting something that was wrong because of the way he sounded, because of the things he said. He made a U-turn. Today, he's in the ranks of Mr. Joseph Boakai and the ruling Unity Party. It is a lesson. Don't get me wrong. Reconciliation is good, it's better. But sometimes the way we do the politics, the way we say the things we say, and the way we make U-turn, sometimes they're terrible. That's all I got to say. We have to watch out for these politicians and how they behave and how they come back from the shelf. If not, some of us will land ourselves in the trouble. So like I was saying from the onset, Montserrado County Senator Abraham Darius Delon on today, the rehab center he inaugurated, he initiated, which is his signature, one of his signatures program, graduated on the arrival of the folks from the Central Bank of Liberia. This is the conversation